Marijuana Mama here. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's very, 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 very relaxed at 3:23 a.m. on December the 22nd, 2019. All I can say, goodbye 2019, good riddance. I hope I never hear from you again. One of the most miserable, lifelong, blistering, crummy years. Mercury was in our retrograde. I don't know about anybody else, but us Aries, it hit us hard. It was heck. It didn't treat us very nice. Myself, I spent 3 months in the hospital in April, May, and June, and it wasn't pleasant. I was treated like a second-class citizen who had bombed a city. I pretty much was the worst person on the face of the planet because I had a thyroid condition. I don't know what the doctor's name was. She was giving me medication that I was allergic to and been diagnosed allergic to for approximately 20 years. She had no consideration of the intolerable pain that the medication she had gave me put me through. And it was on an everyday basis that I told her about my pain with no regard to how I felt. She continued to manipulate me with needle form medication that caused me excruciating pain in every joint of my body day in and day out. And I don't know how your grandma is feeling with arthritis or people that have pains with their joints. But when you are in that much pain, I'm sorry to say, you are grumpy and you are miserable. And if they hadn't have put me through all that pain, I probably would have been a delight to deal with. I was going to SNAF every 4 hours for medication. Not medication for drugs, but medication like Tylenol, ibuprofen, and just extra strength. But still, that kills the liver too. And it was the only way I could just numb the pain because I wasn't even allowed to do my medical marijuana that I had been doing for approximately 24 years prior. And I was cut off completely from all people that I loved and cared about. So I was held hostage as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if anybody's heard the story. If you haven't, I just thought I'd welcome you into my little terror. We all have them. Sorry, that was my front window breaking. No, I'm just joking. I had a very, very positive I didn't have a positive show. I had a positive experience with a beautiful gentleman by the name of Chris Garcia. He was on Tessa Nicole's show tonight, and he gave me the first psychic reading, and I have felt so wonderful since I have received that reading. To tell you the truth, I am a little bit psychic myself. I predicted things within the last few weeks very considerably quickly, not wanting it to be right, but knowing in my heart it was. I had somebody I care about dearly get hurt, and I knew about it before it even happened, and it was within a short time frame I predicted it that it happened, and my witness is Wolfman, and I tend to pick up on tendencies psychically that is of a negative consequence or result in my thought. It's like my father was a beautiful home. He had worked a lot on repairing it in Richmond, Ontario, and it was a huge home, which in the late 1800s was a whorehouse. There was a bed and breakfast at one point when people tried to fix up the town. But for the main part of my father's home, it was a whorehouse for approximately 70 to 80 years. And when my father bought it, it didn't have a lot of ways of heating it yet, so we heated it by wood. And I had my daughter, and I came down to visit him. He had just previously, about 4 months earlier, bought me a car, so I thought I would drive down and visit him. Well, I get to the house, and I had this pang of all pangs that everything on the side of the wall where the fireplace was, I wanted to take home. And that's the only way that me, myself, and I can explain it, is this ultimate craving, a urge so significant that it absolves anything else. So I asked my dad, I said, Dad, do you have fire insurance? And he looks at me with a very, very, very weird look. And I said, Dad, do you have fire insurance? He said, yeah. And I said, okay. And he was going to feed the kids. So I said, well, Dad, I'll let you and the kids, my brother and sisters, have supper. And me and Shannon will take off to go home so I can make supper. And I had to drive all the way to Sarnia. And there was no such things really as cell phones unless you carried a briefcase with your phone attached to a box, and it was really ridiculous carrying a phone back then. So this is 80s and 86 or 87 or 88. So I'm sitting there at my dad's, and I'm feeling horrible about this question I just asked him, and I wished I had a truck so I could bring everything outside or everything out of the house and take some of the furniture with me. I just had this feeling I should take it. But I wasn't going to take it. It's my dad's furniture. That don't make no sense. But I had a feeling about the fire. I get up the hill, my dad said. Not even 2 minutes after I left, the wall set on fire. My dad took the French fries out of the oven, called 911, fed the kids, called 911 and said, by the way, the house is on fire. Got the kids out, fed the kids. Fire trucks came 4 times in one night because it repeatedly reset on fire. This house was, at that time, built in the 1870s, so it would have been 118 years old at this point. And the wood was like paper. It went up so fast, and the water that they sprayed on the house didn't do much. So it did, but it reignited. That's where the problem lay. The fire trucks came back 4 times in one evening. Luckily, my father, half of his new house to get built was covered. He got a mortgage for the other house for the other half of the mortgage to get covered. And he had a home built, but he had to live in apartments and stuff until he could actually move back into his home. And he designed the home himself. He actually had the girls' sink, which he didn't want boys to use, and the boys' sink where he didn't want girls to use, a toilet, a urinal, a shower, and a tub. And that way the husband and wife could run in, get ready, and go at the same time. No taking hours and hours and hours to get ready. And he designed a home that now is featured all over this area. And I've seen two, I think, or 3 maybe even. They're exact replicas, but not the same brick, because it is a brick home, and the people decide what type of brick they want to use. And it is such a beautiful home, and I'm so sorry to say that my brother decided to sell the home to somebody that was a stranger, and the home was sold for maybe, I would say about $70,000 too cheap. And I was willing to buy it at the exact price, or even a little more. And because he didn't want me to have it, he sold it out from under me. So that wasn't very family-like, but it happened. And so my dad's house sits in Richmond. And he passed away approximately, it would be 4 years. 3.5, 4 years now. 4 years now. Feels crazy. It doesn't feel that long. Feels like it was yesterday still. I still mourn his loss. Because I had a dad in the hospital. We talked, communicated, I hugged, we kissed, we talked about everything. And he found out he had 4 different kinds of 4-stage cancer. The doctor gave him a month to live. And my dad gets home. He doesn't like the people in his house. He was a very introverted person. While he was at home, he didn't like company. And if he had company, it was a very few people. Well, he's dying, and he's got 20 people or more in his house and around his property. And he's so anxious and fed up with it all. And he's grumpy. And because he's grumpy, he ended up having this one lethal injection that made it seem like he had brain cancer, but he was diagnosed with only liver cancer, lung cancer, lymph node cancer, and pelvic bone cancer. And the way I seen him die, the way I seen him go in a vegetable state, ripped me to the core and has physically and dynamically changed my brain chemistry to the point of I would say, inheriting his rage that he carried from his mother prior. So if that makes sense to anybody, that would be nice if you could get back a hold of me on Facebook or whatever media thing you get this show on. I actually, on Spreaker, if I did a live show, I could do chat, but I don't tend to do live shows. But if you leave a message in my Spreaker inbox, I will get it. My grandmother was a lady of about 6 feet tall, almost 340 pounds, or bigger at her biggest. And my grandfather was a 5'4" short man for men. And I remember stories that the family told me and my father told me that the grandmother was really not a very kind person. She tended to slap the kids in the head if they did something wrong. And at that point, I realized when you're getting slapped in the head repeatedly throughout your childhood, you're probably somewhat there's a disconnection. Once your blood pressure or your rage gets up, it's almost like that person, his rage won't go away until they abruptly explode, and then they're fine. But if they don't abruptly explode, it's never figure it out within themselves. And I'm not sure if I'm going on a tangent here, but I remember witnessing all kinds of things with my father. And one thing I do understand, he would have his calm point, his rage point, his calm point. He would never have his calm point. He would always have a calm point, rage point, calm point. And if I ever, I feel like I don't look like him, but my life partner does, and he says that I do look like him. And I found out that maybe people told me things. My father told me that because he had thought that his friend had slept with my mother. But when I talked to the gentleman that was supposed to be my friend's father, he said that he cut me out of my mother's womb in Alberta and buried her body because she was a heroin addict.